let's go right ahead and talk about Bronny James and his decision. Now, about a week ago, well, over the previous week, I should say, there was a rumor that Bronny was going to enter the transfer portal, but the decision wasn't final. Like, those were just rumors. Bronny never said it directly, and neither did LeBron, neither did anyone that is associated to Bronny. It was just assumed, I guess you could say, because given how Bronny isn't really high in like the draft stocks, like it doesn't really seem he didn't really play that well in college offensively. I thought he played very well defensively. It doesn't really seem like teams were going to draft him at that point. But after the end of the week, Bronny posted on Instagram that he announced that he is officially declaring for the 2024 NBA draft. And at the same time, he's also going to enter the transfer portal. Now, I've never seen any college player do this, like, at all. I've never seen them declare for the draft and at the same time, like, go to the transfer portal. I didn't even know that was possible because, like, usually when you declare for the draft, it's not really, like, you're declaring for the draft and you don't intend to go back to college. And I had no idea that college players and college students had that option to both declare for the draft and at the same time enter the transfer portal if necessary. Like, I thought it was you declare, you either make it or break it, and then you figure out what you have to do with the rest of your life. And I had no idea that I didn't expect Bronny to take this approach, but I do think it is the smartest move that he could have done. Like, if he could have done anything with the decision of either picking, like, getting drafted or staying in college, like, it was really difficult to choose between one or the other because now that college students are getting paid, he can bring up his name, image, and likeness deals while still in college. But, like, the money that you make over on them, like in the NIL deals, is probably, it pales in comparison to the money that you can make on an NBA contract or an NBA rookie contract, depending on who you are, of course. Because, like, different athletes, they get different NIL deals and they provide different incentives. And usually the players that are really, really good are the ones that end up making the big money, like Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and all of those other players. Like, you don't really... What's kind of ironic is that you don't really hear many of the men's basketball players getting, at least on the college aspect, getting really big deals on name, image, and likeness. It's more so on the women's side than on the men's side, or at least the women's side is better advertised, I guess you could say. And I honestly think that either or the move would have been like, if he would have picked one or the other, it would have been good. So the fact that he was able to pick both, I think it's one of the smartest things I've ever seen a college student do. Because again, I had no idea anyone could even do that. So I'm just looking at the social media posts right now if there's anything else that I need to discuss about it. And no, so all that's left is waiting to see what team he is going to pick, like what team could either draft him or what college he's going to end up making his decision to go to. So looking at like the possibilities for the colleges, it's alleged that he's going to transfer to an Atlantic 10 program. Now, which Atlantic 10 program it is, we have no idea, but that's sort of like what the speculation is right now. And in terms of NBA, obviously, like the team that's most likely going to draft him is probably the Los Angeles Lakers, because as we all know, LeBron, he really wants to play with his son Bronny, and that's sort of been the goal since LeBron has found out he's old enough to sort of be able to get that chance. And obviously, I feel like Bronny wants that chance as well, which is why he did both declare for the NBA draft as well as decide to go into the transfer portal. So whichever one he decides to do, not entirely sure. And also, like, if an NBA team drafts him, like, what other team other than the Lakers would draft him? Because, as I said previously, offensively, his game, it wasn't there, and it wasn't where we expected, I guess you could say. And I feel like what we expect from a freshman college player is different than what we expect from LeBron's son, if that makes sense. Because obviously, like with LeBron having a son, everyone assumes that like he's going to have the same skill set or maybe even be better than his own father, simply because like his father is the one who teaches him, and it's like he's also able to learn from everyone else in a game that's expanding. And that's sort of the anticipation that, like, oh, he's going to dominate in college. He's going to be great in college. But I feel like a lot of people forget that he did suffer heart problems to begin, like, the NCAA season. Well, not really to begin the NCAA season, but, like, sort of before that. And that, obviously, like, having heart problems, it's not ideal. And the fact that he was able to return to play college and play in all of these games, I think it's an accomplishment in of itself, and most of the fans and most of the media is being a little bit too harsh on their expectations, because Bronny, he has some phenomenal defense for a college freshman. Like, that is definitely the highlight of his game. And when you look at LeBron's son being just a good defender, it doesn't really sound right, and it sounds a little disappointing. But when you look at a college player being just a defender, it sounds very impressive. And it's something that a lot of teams value, especially when they're drafting, because a lot of teams would love to have that role player that plays great defense and is athletic and is good enough to shoot. So that's the value that I see Bronny bringing to any NBA team that decides to draft him. I do think that, like, if any team was to draft him, it's going to be the Lakers off of just skill set alone. Like, however, there's also the thought process that LeBron, he's recently said that he is not sure how much longer he's going to be able to play in the NBA, and he thinks like 1 or 2 years is going to be like the max at this point in time. So depending on what team drafts him and their cap space, there might be a chance that they might try to pursue LeBron to join them in hopes of playing with his son in his final 2 years of playing in the league. So the reason why teams would draft him would be because they want LeBron on their team. And I said this previously on like the last episode of the podcast, that if teams are going to draft Bronny, it's most likely going to be because they want LeBron James on their roster, because LeBron is still playing some of the best basketball of his entire career. He's shooting better than Steph Curry from the three-point line, and there was a stretch where he only missed 6 shots in 2 games. That is phenomenal basketball, especially coming from the oldest player in the NBA right now. And obviously, teams still want that value, and I feel like some teams might think, oh, we could definitely get him if we get Bronny. And I wouldn't be surprised if, like, I'm not entirely sure if the Lakers are going to even entertain that idea. And I'm also not entirely sure if LeBron will request a trade to that team if the Lakers decide to entertain that idea. Because LeBron has never in his entire career requested for a trade. So, like, most people, like, they think, like, oh, LeBron James, he abandons his team and things of that nature. He doesn't abandon his team. If he really wanted to abandon his team, he would have requested a trade. But he clearly doesn't want to do that. And he's never done that before, so I don't really expect him to do that now. But given how he really wants to play with his son, I'm not leaving anything off of the table, because anything is possible, and it's a crazy league that we're in right now. And I wouldn't be surprised if LeBron just says, all right, it's time to adapt, and decides to abandon ship and go to a different team just to play with his son if he doesn't have another chance of winning a championship, or if the Lakers don't have another chance of winning a championship, which is honestly kind of ironic given how at the start of February, the Lakers have been, I believe, 20-3. And they have not moved an inch from the 9th seed, which is insane to think about, because it's like you win 20 games and it's not even enough to bring you up 1 spot in the seedings. That is really crazy. Now, looking at the seedings right now for the Lakers, I believe that since they still hold the 9th seed, I'm going to see just how many games, like, is the difference between them and the Phoenix Suns and the Kings and all of those other teams that are fighting for a playoff spot and trying to avoid the play-in right about now. So if the website would load, that would be fantastic. Now, just looking at the standings real quick. And yeah, so right now they have the exact same record as the Kings. The Kings have one less loss than them, so they're expected to play tonight. And we'll see exactly what that's going to do to the standings. The Phoenix Suns, they moved out of the 7th and 8th seed, and they moved all the way up to the 6th seed. So now the play-in tournament is looking like Pelicans going up against the Kings and Lakers going up against the Warriors. So dependent on how the season ends out, there might be a chance that the Lakers could make it to that 6th seed. There's a small chance that they could do that. And if they do that, their playoff chances are just that much greater, depending on who they go up against in the first round. Like, the 1, 2, and the 3 seed are flip-flopping, same as the 7, 8, 9, and 10 seed are flip-flopping. And that's going to ultimately determine the matchups and who makes it out of that playoff picture. Now, if the Lakers, they end up winning, and they end up having a long playoff run like they did last year, maybe LeBron would be less incentivized to leave the Lakers even if another team drafts Bronny. And if that's the case, then maybe Bronny's draft stock would take a hit. Now, if the Lakers, they lose out in the first round immediately, then there might also be a chance that LeBron just decides, like, there's a much higher chance that LeBron decides to leave. Because the Lakers, like, I don't want to, you know what, I'm going to be that guy. The Lakers, they have completely wasted LeBron's prime. They've wasted it more than Cleveland has wasted his prime. I am sorry to say, that is just how it is. The Lakers front office and their managements of the roster, it's been very, very bad, and a lot of people blame LeBron for it, but I understand that LeBron, he has a lot of executive action over the Lakers, but it's the Lakers that end up making these decisions, and they can choose whether to listen to him or not. And the fact that they go through with some of these decisions actively just makes the team worse. Like, missing the playoffs with a prime LeBron is inexcusable, and they've done that more times than the Cleveland Cavaliers have done that, and it's egregious to me. Like, I don't understand what that is. But that's the update on Bronny and his situation. So with that, we are out of time for this first segment. So I'm going to go ahead and go into the second segment where we pivot to NCAA basketball, both on men's and women's, and talk about the Final Four and their matchups. So I will be right back after this short break.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody